If you are new here, I would advise you to listen to the first two parts and then come back. For most, seconds go as fast as a couple of blinks. Most people wouldn't even think about how long a couple of seconds take. But for him, seconds were an age long. He thought about his infant son and if he would be able to see him again. About his wife that is neck deep in loans. About his friend that awaits him outside because the reason he came to play is to cover for his friend's debt. The dice lands and the room is silent. Silent for him and the guy with the missing teeth. Noisy as hell for the rest. It's a 666, and in the underground place, this means the player has to throw again. In the case of throwing 3 triples, the player loses triple of the bet. Such a cruel image about a guy who borrowed for the double, but is 2 throws away from being in debt of 6 times the current amount. The guy with the gaps between his teeth smiles and says, "You're on the 666 road, and you know what that means." The man with the hat takes it off and picks the dice again. Only this time, he didn't move them in his palm, but throw instantly. His brain is taken by surprise. His logic is no longer available. His eyes are focused on the dice. The dice lands, and it's a 5 for the first one, a 5 for the second one. And before he realized what the third one is, the guy with the missing teeth laughed and said, "Haha, one more. It was a 555. He's in shock. His palms are sweaty. He reaches for his cigarette bag, but he can't control his palm. He's trembling and can barely with the cigarettes between his lips. He lit it and took a deep breath, a breath full of tar and nicotine. But for his brain, those are the fuel to keep it running. He looks up and says to the guy with the missing teeth, "Looks like I'm 1 throw away from years as your slave. From years without seeing my son. From years without feeding my wife. What's the downside of adding a few more? Would you like to triple our bet? The odds are in your favor now. Or are you suddenly a believer in fate and too scared it won't be on your side? After all, a devil like you shouldn't believe in such a thing. So what do you say?" The guy across the table looks at him and says, "I'll tell you a story, as it doesn't matter now that you're 1 throw away from going under. A few years back, I was on the same seat as today's, and a young man came to sit across, right where you are now. One of his family members owed our organization a certain amount of money, and as we always do, we come to collect. The amount wasn't available, so we had 2 options: finishing up that person, which meant we won't get our money back, but it sends a message, The second option was that he would go under for the rest of his life, knowing that his amount was a large one, and because we don't need to send a message for the fact that everyone knows who we are, the second option was to be carried. A day before he was supposed to be picked up, this guy came and asked to replace him. As he was young, that meant his service would be longer years and more profitable to us. But he had a condition: to pay for his years, to bet in years, every year worth a certain amount, until he either pays his family member's debt or goes under for life. I, as a gentleman, agreed to the terms and we played a similar game to today's game. I'm happy to say that he now is one of the best slaves I ever had, and he's even promoted to a supervisor in my mind. The reason I'm telling you this story is that he too went far with his bets and learned in the hard way that the house always wins. So I'm going to give you a chance to rethink what he just said and to think carefully about the story I just told you. It's in our nature as humans to always think that bad things happen to others only. Wrong. It's likely to happen to us once we lose control on our thoughts.